Welcome to the current session of UFT training, right? Over here in this session, what I'll be explaining is about objects. Fine. Now, in the last session, I told you how you can make all the configuration settings in UFT for recognizing objects, right? Now, what is an object first of all? Okay, on a web page in UFT, what is an object? Look, the thing is, everything on a web or a Windows-based application is an object, right? For example, if I talk about a browser, fine. If I open a browser, right, then this search button is an object, this text field is an object, this link is an object, even the browser is an object. Okay, so everything in the application, right, including the application under test, right, it is an object. Okay, so if you have ever heard any automation tester, like two automation testers talking to each other, they'll say that object is not being found or this is happening with the object. Okay, so technically everything is an object, right? And it's all about object. Initially, when you learn, it is all about finding the objects on the page. Okay, right. Now, how does UFT recognize objects on the page? Okay, that is the first question. For example, if I go to yahoo.com, fine, and you know what, this UFT will, just a minute. If I start recording, whatever actions I record on yahoo.com, they will be recorded, right? But what actually happens? How does UFT recognizes and how does UFT classifies the objects on a web page, right? The answer to this is quite simple, right? You as a human being, when you look at something, okay, suppose you look at a car, right? Now that car gets stored in your memory, fine, and when you look at it next time, you can actually relate it with the car which was stored in your memory. Okay, so similarly UFT also looks at the web pages and stores the objects somewhere. Alright, you as a human being, you look at anything, right? You look at it with your eyes, right? Similarly, what UFT does is UFT uses object spy. Okay, object spy in UFT is like the eye of UFT. Okay, if you go to tools object spy, right, you will get this object spy. This is like the eye of UFT. And if you go to resources object repository, this is the brain of UFT. Object repository is the brain of UFT where it stores all the objects. Okay, hold on. First I will tell you about object spy. Fine. If you maximize this screen, right, and if you maximize UFT, now the screen, the Mozilla browser is behind UFT. Okay, so when Mozilla browser is behind UFT, right, if I click on this hand icon in object spy, what will happen is that UFT will disappear and this window, the Yahoo window which is there, will come up. Okay, if I move my mouse over any link, you see you'll get the properties of those links over here. Right, if I say click on the link news, so you will have the news link. Okay, the class name is link, abstract, x coordinate, y coordinate, background color, class, and all these properties, okay, all the properties come up. Fine. So these properties are the properties of this link news. Alright, the class name is link. Okay, for every object in UFT there is a predefined class name. For a link it is a link, for a page it is a page, for a browser it is a browser, for a text field, okay, for example this is a text field, okay, the class is web edit, okay, for a button it is web button. Fine. So every object has got properties. They can be the properties can be recognized with object spy. Okay, and every object has a certain class name as well. Right. Okay, the class names are predefined. Fine. Now you need to understand a little bit more about object spy. Right. If I am spying, fine. If I move my mouse over say mail, Fine. And if I click on it, then UFT will come back, right? The window which I am spying should be at the back of UFT. Alright. Now what if there is some object which is at the back of this object spy, because while spying you just cannot move this object spy like that. Okay, say there is some button behind this spy window or something. So in that case what we do is that we hit the control button of the keyboard. Okay, you keep the control button pressed. If I keep the control button pressed, what will happen is that spy will get disabled. You can scroll down the page. You can move the spy window anywhere on the page. Okay, and as soon as you release the control button, it will get enabled. So at times if we have to scroll down the page or move the spy window, you can move it like this. Okay, right. If I now look at the link news over here, right, and again if I hit the control button of the keyboard, I can scroll these properties as well. Otherwise you cannot do that. Okay, in normal circumstances you cannot do that. Okay, so this is about object spy. That is, it is like the eye of UFT, which helps you to recognize the objects and get their properties, right? And the most important thing is that every object has a predefined class name. Okay, in case of a Windows based application, for example the calculator, right, the class names, they start from win button, win edit, okay, window, right. In case of web based applications, the class names, they start from web button, web edit, link, web checkbox, web radio group. Alright, fine. Now these objects are added into the memory of UFT when you start recording. Okay, for example, I'll go to resources object repository. This is the memory of UFT. Okay, and I will go to this application and I'll start recording. Right, and I'll maximize the browser. Look, if I click on the link mail out here, you'll see that the mail link goes in the repository immediately. If I stop the browser, just hold on. Right, see, this is the browser class object. Let me open spy as well. I'll spy the, just a minute. Right, just a minute. I'll spy the mail link. Fine, this is the mail link. Right, it's directly gone inside the object repository. In the object repository, you see that in the hierarchy, the first object is browser. It's of the class browser. The name is Yahoo. Okay, the class is browser. Fine, the second object is the page object whose name is Yahoo. The class is page, and third object is mail. It's a link whose name is mail, and you know, these are the properties from which you saw in object spy. Okay, all out of all the properties in object spy, two properties have come up over here in the mail link, right? And out of all those properties, only two have come up because UFT thinks that just with these two properties it is more than enough. Okay, it is more than enough to identify the objects. Sorry, the object, not the objects. If you want to remove a property, you can remove it from this cross icon, or you can add more. These are the other properties which were visible in object spy. If you want to add another property, you can also add that. Okay, now this is like the brain of UFT, object spy. And if you look at the code, you can relate the code to the object repository. Okay, it is written over here browser Yahoo. That means there is a browser class, whatever is there, not in the double quotes over here, browser, page, link, these are the predefined class names. Okay, there is a browser class object known as Yahoo. Inside it there is a page class object known as Yahoo, right, which is there in the repository. and inside it there is the link mail, and click on it, right? So what UFT does is that it, hold on, I'll show you in a paint, right? So what UFT does is, just a minute, this is your code, okay, this is your object repository, and this is your application, right? Now what UFT does is that it maps the code to the object repository first. When you run the script, okay, it will go and find that, fine, is there is a browser class object with name Yahoo in repository? Yes. Inside it page Yahoo? Yes. Inside it link mail? Yes. And click. Click is a function. So it will first map the objects in the object repository. Then from the object repository it will find in the application. Okay. When we use advanced UFT, okay, we will directly write a VB code which will not use object repository and directly interact with the browser or the application or the Windows application or web application, anything. Okay, right. So right now I am going through the first way, that the code finds an object repository, and from object repository it's found in the application. Right. Now beware of one thing, sometimes people change stuff over here. If you change stuff over here, it will not work. Browser class object whose name is XXXX is not there inside object repository. So as soon as you run this program, you will get an error. Okay, but yes, you can do the other way. This browser class object, the name is Yahoo. If I change the name to Mozilla and hit the enter button of the keyboard, it gets changed automatically inside the code as well. So wherever, if I just, hold on, just a minute. Yeah, if I have this line 3 times, okay, and if I change the name of my browser or name of my page, okay, I'll name my page as Yahoo page, so it will get changed everywhere in the code automatically. Okay, you can also change a name for this link as well, but don't change the internal name. This is the external name, this is the mapping name, you can keep it anything. Okay, still it will click on mail because the internal description properties has got mail. Don't change this. Alright, fine. Okay, now as I told you, the names which are mentioned over here should be same as the name in the object repository. Okay, right. And if there is an error over here, it is your error. If the name in the code is not matching in the object repository, it is an error by the tester. Okay, but yes, if it is found in the object repository and it is not found in the application, it can be a bug. Alright, fine. And that's what we do. For example, if I run this line and I have some other page, say I have the page bbc.com opened, okay, and where it will not find the mail link, right? And if I run this code, you will see that it will run and it will try to find the mail link on bbc.com page, okay, and in the end it will throw an error. Look, it will not throw an error immediately. Okay, look, I don't want to jump over to a big example or a big project right now. You have to have your basics clear. If you don't have your basics clear, you just cannot go ahead. You see that you get the error that cannot identify the object, but it waits for some time and then throws the error. Okay, this waiting time is known as object synchronization timeout. Okay, by default it is 20 seconds. If you go to the file settings in UFT, okay, and if you go to the run settings, you will have the object synchronization timeout set to 20 seconds right now. You can change it to anything. Okay, by default it is 20. Right. So synchronization timeout comes over here if the object from the repository is not found in the application. But it will not come over here. Okay.